Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Boeing taking the spotlight for all the wrong reason, Airbus cracking on and delivering planes to its customers. But the Q1 numbers look a little light on where I think analysts were expecting them to be. So I think investors this evening here in Europe are wondering why costs are so high at Airbus right now. Why is cash flow so light? Why is this company carrying the kind of levels of inventory that nobody thought they really would be having to do so at this point? So let's try and find out some of the answers to those questions. Guillaume Faury is the CEO of Airbus and joins us right now. Guillaume, welcome to the program. Thanks for taking the time to join us. Let's talk a little bit about where we are with these Q1 numbers. As I say, cash flow looks a little light. We're wondering why you're carrying so much inventory. We're wondering why costs are so high. Are these one-offs? Are these just associated with the first quarter, or are these going to be numbers that are going to linger into the latter part of the year?
Hello, Guy. Good to see you. We've indeed released our Q1 numbers. We've delivered 142 commercial airplanes in the quarter, which is 12% higher than last year. So in terms of production deliveries, we feel we're on track, and that's very important. The quarter is indeed a bit soft, but it's again on track with our expectations to keep our guidance unchanged for the year. We are building indeed a lot of inventory. We're operating in a complex and difficult supply chain environment, and we want to make sure that we have the resources, that we have the hardware, the equipment, and everything we need to keep ramping up in a year that will be backloaded, a bit like what it was last year.
Okay, so we're going to see more aircraft deliveries in the back half of the year. There's a line, Guillaume, that stands out from the press statement, and it's right at the top, and I think it's worth repeating to the audience. We delivered first quarter 2024 results against a backdrop of an operating environment that shows no signs of improvement. Geopolitical and supply chain tensions continue. Guillaume, why are you still dealing with supply chain issues? Many other industries face these kinds of problems during the pandemic, but they are long in the rearview mirror. Why is aerospace still struggling with these issues? Why are they so hard to fix? Why is the supply chain not being sorted out more quickly?
Yeah, Guy, it's a very important question. Actually, we are in a long-term industry. We employ people which are highly skilled and qualified, and a significant number of the workforce of the people left the companies in the supply chain at Airbus with other companies during the pandemic. So we are rehiring people, but it takes a lot of time to onboard them, to train them, to give them the qualifications, and to have them at full speed. And this is a bit across the supply chain. But there is another reason why we are in this difficult environment, and we will remain in a challenged supply environment, is because we're ramping up at full steam, at the maximum speed we reasonably can. And this will continue till we reach the rate 75 on the A320, which is expected in 2026, and you see that now we decide to continue to ramp up on the A350 beyond the rate 10 that was already announced, up to rate 12 in 2028. So we are victims sort of our own success. We have a lot of demand, the demand is higher than the supply, and this will continue to stretch the supply chain for some years.
The supply chain, as you say, is stretched. You are having to support the supply chain in many different ways, putting staff into their factories, supplying or helping out with financing, or at least telling the banks how the order book is going to look. Guillaume, are you getting to the point, though, with the supply chain where you're going to have to start taking bits of it over? You're going to have to start taking equity stakes in order to make sure that you can deliver on that ramp up in production that you're talking about and supply the aircraft that you have promised?
Actually, we count on the financial institutions to do the financing, to play their role. We are the end customer, we are the OEM, and the support we're providing to our suppliers is mostly in the form of technical support, sending our own teams on site, understanding the way the ramp-up plans are secured, if not working together to adapt and anticipate as much as we can. And we have some suppliers which are in real difficulties that have to do transfer of work. And in that case, it's a lot about anticipating, making sure that the execution is okay, that the quality for the new site goes as expected. So actually, we are more contributing people, skill, know-how, competencies than money to the supply chain.
Do you think, though, that you are going to have to go further than that? Could you be buying some of these companies to make sure that your supply chain is secure?
There are few cases where we have to take these kind of decisions. We like to be making those decisions when there is not only a defensive approach to a difficult situation to manage, but also a strategic intent, a strategic relevance to the case. And you might remember that we acquired 2 years ago together with Safran a company called Aubert & Duval, because that was making a lot of sense for us strategically on those special alloys for the long-term future. There are other ways of dealing with the situation, with national associations that go deep into the supply chain, with mediation and with brokering relationship between suppliers and financial institutions, as I said earlier. That's mostly what we do.
Yep. Okay, we've seen what happens when the supply chain can cause problems. Let's talk a little bit about what's happening with Spirit right now. Boeing, Dave Calhoun, obviously in the process of retaking over that business in Wichita. He says, though, that he will not be held hostage by the Airbus portion of Spirit. He wants that deal to go ahead and go ahead quickly. He sounds like he's saying that he basically wants that whole transaction to go at his pace. Are you comfortable with going at his pace?
Well, I fully respect what Boeing is trying to achieve with Spirit. As you know, we are at Airbus with a very vast majority of our aerostructures, of our fuselage coming from from core business and companies that we own. So we respect what they try to achieve by buying back Spirit. Now, there are some important work packages of Airbus planes that are with Spirit, mainly the A350 Section 15 and the A220 wings. And we want just to be clear on the fact that we don't want those work packages to be with our main and direct competitor. So we need to find a way forward that works for both parties, but we don't want to take anybody hostage. We just want to do what is right for Airbus.
When do you think, therefore, you'll be in a position to make all that happen? Airbus obviously needs this to work, but does it need it to work quickly? Against
the backdrop of this change of situation with the recent announcement that Boeing wants to acquire Spirit, we have started to work. We have engaged with Spirit, but I can't be precise on the time it will take. We have just started the discussion. We are engaging in a very constructive and active manner, obviously, but it's premature to give a timeline.
Okay, so when Dave Calhoun talks about maybe the end of this quarter, that doesn't sound familiar to you?
Well, there are different ways of dealing with the situation. As I said, we are very constructive and we don't want to take anybody hostage, but we want our interest, rights, and the discussion with Spirit to be smooth and efficient, and we are engaging for that.
You said earlier this week, Guillaume, that you are turning customers away when it comes to the narrow bodies. You are sold out many years ahead. How many customers are you turning away at the moment? How many people are coming to you and saying, can you sell us some aeroplanes? The guys were talking about this just a moment ago. You can't just pick up the phone and kind of order an Airbus. There's a long timeline here. But how many customers are ringing you up saying, have you got any slots? How many people are you having to turn away right now?
Well, I don't like the idea of turning away. We are always welcoming customers reaching out to us. Now, the facts are what they are. We have no available slot for the A320 family now before 2030, and that's the reality. So we have to face that reality, and there is indeed in the market of a shortage of plane. There is more demand than supply. We're trying to do our very, very best, but we are with an order book that is what it is. It's a very big one. And for new customers coming, they have to understand, they have to respect the fact that available slots now for the A320 family are in the next decade.
How far out, assuming you get to your 75 per month level, how far out are you sold out?
We have, as I said, available slots in 2030 onwards.
Okay, 2030 onwards. Let's talk about the wide-body market. The wide-body market has come back and looks pretty healthy right now. You've announced that you are, as we were discussing earlier, going to be ramping up your production of the A350. But it's not going to be until 2028. Indigo from India earlier today announcing a fairly substantial order. You say that the supply chain is in a position to make that ramp. Why are you waiting as long as you are? Why 2028? Is that something that you could potentially do earlier?
No, that's not something we can do earlier, and actually that's quite early. You might remember that we were at rate 4 during COVID, and we have started to ramp up from rate 4 to rate 5 this year and to the rate 10 in 2026. So that's a quite steep ramp up already. We have assessed the readiness of the supply chain to go beyond the rate 10, and we've come with a successful outcome of this assessment and with the possibility to go to rate 12 by 2028. So that is indeed a steep ramp up, and that is freeing up some slots between 26 and 28, and obviously more capacity beyond 28.
Guillaume, great pleasure to catch up. Thank you for spending some time with us on the program this evening. Guillaume Faury, the CEO of Airbus.